Facing the trauma of your health and livelihood being threatened is something that so many people can relate to right now, whether it's fires in Hawaii or elsewhere, and also the economic effects on people's ability to get a job. This is something that showed up for me in the last 24 hours. There was a specific situation where I felt that deep fear of my health and livelihood being threatened. In the place where I was renting, there was someone upstairs who was being loud enough that I couldn't sleep, and it was past midnight. I had to get up and get ready for work the next morning. I asked 3 times, had a direct conversation with them, and their response was, well, I'm renting here too, so I can do whatever I want. Through that conversation, I don't think they were being honest with me, very entitled. And when I said I need it to be quiet by 10 p.m., they said, oh, that's not going to work for me. And this is different than what the landlord had originally told me and what I was expecting. It's the early hours of the morning, and now my trauma is triggered, and I'm mad because this person didn't give a legitimate reason for doing what they're doing that they could have done during daytime hours. So I had to go through that extreme triggering of the nervous system that was freaking out, and I had intense pain in my neck and in my body. It felt awful. I felt so much fear imagining me not being able to sleep, destroying my health, and also destroying my ability to do my job. This reminded me of 2 specific scenarios that I could think of. The first one was when I was in university living with my aunt, and when I was on the same level as her, she didn't sleep all night, and I couldn't sleep either. Every tiny little sound that she would make, I could hear all of it. Every sound would just wake me up again. I couldn't relax. I couldn't fall asleep. When I was on the lower level, there was enough soundproofing that I couldn't hear her. So I had to leave. I had to move out. The other situation was when I was renting from a landlord. During my master's, I was living in the same building as the landlord, which was not great because this person was very controlling. I would get up in the morning and she would try to regulate my emotional state as judged by seeing my face. She would be like, are you happy? Like, how are you doing? And I would just be in the morning and have like a neutral state. I would feel pressure to try and be happy just to get her to leave me alone. There was someone else who lived in the house who would always bring the mail in, and the person who lived in the ensuite didn't like this, and they would be angry about it. So I would get messages, please leave it outside, even though I didn't touch the mail. And then this person in the ensuite would bang on my door that had a dresser in front of it. It couldn't even open. And then sweared afterwards, and this was harassment, and it freaked me out. And when I talked to the landlord about it, they talked to the person who did it and then told me, oh, now they feel bad. They feel like they've done something wrong. So my landlord was gaslighting me, as if there's some kind of misunderstanding that could excuse the other person's behavior that made me feel unsafe because it was a door leading to the outside and I didn't know who it was. It could have been a homeless person. And then there was the obnoxious roommate who would bring the mail in and also not follow house rules, who had the bedroom on top of me with this squeaky bed, who spent a whole day having sex and blaring Netflix with her boyfriend while I was trying to study for my master's. And that was a violation of the house rules. Again, you weren't allowed to listen to something unless it was on a device connected to earphones. So instead of enforcing the house rules with this one person who was her friend, she tried to solve the problem by enforcing the house rules on the people who were already following them. And then the landlord went and tried to give me counseling sessions while living in the same home as me, which I felt really unsafe by this person who was already trying to control my emotional state, me giving her more personal information about myself so she could try and control me more. And of course, she thought she was helping. And I felt the gaslighting. It freaked me out. I felt unsafe. And when you're with someone who is acting as if this is all fine and this is all normal and you're the one with the problem, it makes you feel crazy. So the situation that happened yesterday, it freaked me out. I didn't sleep all night. I packed up my stuff and I left the next morning. Tried to make it through work. I contacted the landlord and then tried to settle down my nervous system, which was still freaking out. And during this process, I've got the words that rude person said to me running through my mind, arguing with them. I'm trying to let go of those thoughts and return to normal as soon as possible. And as soon as I left that house where I didn't feel safe, I already was able to start calming down. As long as I was there, my nervous system was still activated and freaking out. What really bothered me was thinking, why did this happen? This wasn't something that I caused, right? The common pattern that has shown up in my life recently is something has come up to trigger something so that I could emotionally process it, kind of like exposure therapy or somatic experiencing therapy. And this was so intense that I doubted that that was why. Like, this felt like a real threat to my life. It didn't feel like something that was just there to help me to heal. Now it's been 24 hours since that happened. I finally got a good night's sleep. I'm starting to feel better. And I can put it more into perspective. And I can recognize these events in my past, which were traumatic, which affected my nervous system, that were still stuck in my nervous system, causing anxiety. I've been able to process that and release that and move on. When you're stuck in the thick of it, it is so challenging because you're stuck in the emotions of it. You can't see the bigger picture. And now I'm thankful that that's happened, that's released from my body, and I can move forward in my life without having that pain stuck within me. As long as you have that kind of trauma stuck in your body, it's going to show up in limiting beliefs. It's going to show up in survival behaviors. I'm learning how to live as if I have no issues with money or any survival concerns. These kind of traumas are showing up and they're being experienced, felt, processed, and purged and released. This makes it so much easier when you're living your life to be able to live in peace and a state of security.